Wildflower. Thank you for coming, guys.
Drew, just in front of me.
And Drew, one more on your left side, Drew.
Drew, just here.
I'll hold it down. Wildflower, right? See, contradicting messages. Get ready to go and hold it up.
Drew, just in front of you.
Preface. I wrote this book without assuming anyone would ever read it. And yet, I wrote it for you, the person reading this right now. If it feels personal for you, then I am so happy because it was personal for me. I didn't write it in any particular format. This is not a sweeping life story, but an elaboration on times in my life as I remembered them. I asked myself from time to time over the course of exactly 1 year, what should I revisit? Or what stories should I tell? Because to me, these are stories. My publisher wanted to call this a memoir at first, but that didn't sound right. Memoir sounded heavy to me, and I wanted this to be light. This is a book that you can dip into and read when you want. But I can only hope that every once in a while it catches you inconveniently feeling something. It was inconvenient writing it with 2 young daughters. They are my universe, and I felt terrible pulling myself away from them to write. Ever. But every mother knows how this feels. However, I discovered over this year that being a mother is at times hardest in the transitions. Pulling yourself away, you feel like the devil. But once you do, you can be more present. And the gift is that once you pull away from your responsibilities, you can fully be a parent. It is being present that matters most. And when I was writing and I shut my door, I would let the inspiration flow. For some reason, I had to write this book. I have become more private every year, and yet these stories were beating at the door of my heart, screaming, "Let me out!" Maybe it was that I have always dreamed of being a writer. Those people who do the typing and the transporting are my heroes. I have never been able to do that. I have never been brave enough, smart enough, had enough to say. I had not exercised those abilities in my life, and now I have. Alone in a room, and yet, as I say in the book, you do nothing in this life alone. And most of all, you do not live alone. And therefore, we all have stories to tell. These are mine. I hurled myself off and I went through the water so deeply that I was like, I'm never getting up. I've done it. I've actually killed myself. This is so stupid. And I finally broke free out of the water and I was like, oh, God, I needed this respite from this, what I felt was personal judgment and 4 weeks on the seas. And I saw a rock in the distance and I just started swimming to it. And I finally pulled myself on this rock after 30 minutes of swimming, seriously, 30 minutes in the Mediterranean. And this rock was very unhospitable and it was such a small rock. And I wasn't going to really survive out there. And I looked back at the ship in the distance and I was like, yeah! Take that! And then I was like, what is my game plan here? That was a 30-minute killer swim, and you have it in you to get back. What if they take off before you actually get back in the probably double time it's going to take you because you're so exhausted? And I just sat there just with my head in my hands, and on the other side of the story is the gentleman coming up to Barbara saying, "Excuse me, ma'am, I don't know how to say this." And Mel, of course, is sitting there loving every second of it. And he's like, your guest has jumped the ship. And Barbara, of course, just, I don't know if it was going white or going red, but it was something washed over her, a nausea and a hatred and a disgust and a sickness like nothing else. Sort of a resign to just, this was the straw that broke the camel of Barbara's back. And of course, she was like, well, what does one do in this situation? He was like, it's unprecedented. We don't know. And cut back to me on the rock going, oh shit, I gotta go back. And then I hear me, and there's just a single dinghy headed towards me. And I'm like, oh, man. And then I'm thinking, now everybody really has something on me. Now I'm the Jezebel of the ship. Everybody knew it already, but here I come back. I was like, do I act tail between my legs at this point, or do I just go in with like swagger and confidence?
Wear it. Just wear it.
So I basically just, went straight to my cabin and avoided everyone. And then later that night, as I was, going to the dinner, you'd go to the dinner every night, like, Groundhog's Day. And I went up to the top of the ship and I looked out and I just thought, maybe Barbara's right. Maybe I am a jackass. And, I had just recently botched a marriage, which is never a good feeling. And I still had the wedding ring on my finger, and I was like, yeah, you know what? Maybe you're just a total failure, and everything that you touch and do, turns to shit. And that's what these people sense, and maybe they're right. And then I thought, no. I am just me, and for better or for worse, I make mistakes, but I want to learn from them. And I looked up and I saw the colors in the sky, and they were so powerful, and blues and pinks and oranges, and I thought, oh great universe, please don't give up on me. I promise if you don't, I will figure it out, and I will get it right one day, whatever right is. But please don't give up on me. And I just tossed that ring out to sea, and I pulled myself together and got some level of confidence to face the judges in the dining room. And I walked down there, and all of a sudden, much to my surprise, everyone was like, hey, I heard you jumped off the ship today. Big news, these people were so bored too after the 4 weeks of this dining room. They were desperate for a little ship gossip. And all of a sudden, all of the seniors were like, hey, it's that girl. And even Barbara relaxed her sphincter for 2 seconds and was like, yes, I've known, she went from literally pretending like I did not exist, and nor did she know me, but then it was like, wait, no, I've known her since she was 7. She's always been crazy.
Box or homemade?
Craft.
Extra cheesy or just normal?
I like them both.
Right.
If it's a bad day, I'll go full whiz, and if it's if I ever had a broken heart, it was squeeze the thing and watch Sex and the City.
Pouring the powder in your mouth.
Yeah, and on an average day, it'd be powder.
Favorite form of exercise?
Right now I'm doing kickboxing, which I find very fulfilling. My trainer is Nuno, and he is Portuguese and just talks very abusively to me the entire session. And it works.
Feels great at the end.
Yeah.
Right? Feels great when you stop. This is straight out of Inside the Actor's Studio. Favorite word?
I can't say it.
Do you remember the answer? No.
I remember it.
Favorite swear word. Favorite word.
Oh, Empyrean?
Yes. Look at that. Least favorite word.
Moist.
That's
and
exactly
it's because it describes it so well, so we're forced to use it, but it's disgusting.
So in other words, thank God for the drought. We don't have to use the word very often. If I made you choose one project, one line of work that you do for the year 2016, what would you keep on the table? Everything else is off.
Flower Beauty, the makeup cosmetics line I have.
Of all the characters you played, which one would you want to be in real life?
Danielle in Ever After. Although I am Josie Grossi, so I want to be Danielle and rescue myself, but I am Josie Grossi.
This may be a twisted question, but which celebrity do you get mistaken for? Do people come up to you and say,
I don't. It's usually, they know who I am. I'm Norm. Everybody knows me from Cheers. Norm. However, and I say this in the book, the question I get asked most often is, why are you so short in person? And because I am shorter, I guess, than people think that I am.
I did, honestly, I won't tell you who it was. I honestly had someone ask me, when I told them that I was going to be here with you tonight, will you please ask her what it was like to stand at the television and say, they're here?
Yeah, well, funny enough,
I explain.
went up for Poltergeist in the story in here called the School of E.T. I went to audition for Poltergeist, and Toby Hooper, the director, was out sick that day, and so the producer, Steven Spielberg, was filling in for him.
Never heard of him.
And I went in and did my bag of tricks, lied my face off, told him I was a drummer in a band and that I cooked and all these things to catch him in my butterfly net. I was 6. And he said, oh, you're great, but you're not right for this. And I was like, oh, it just gutted me. And I was like, all right, thanks. And he goes, but I am making another film and I'd like you to come in for that. And I was like, yeah, right, I'm sure you'll call. See ya. And he did call, and I went in and I auditioned 6 times for it, and I got it. And the last audition was a scream. He wanted me to scream and see if I could scream, and it was these large audio reels, of the tape going, and I screamed and I broke it, and I didn't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. And I went home, and then I found out I got it, and I went, and we had the best time ever. It was called This Boy's Life, and we did it. It was the best experience of my life. And then they called, and they said the film is coming out, and we're changing the title. It's going to be called E.T. the Extraterrestrial.